Tonight, we're digging into one of history's most profound and, well, unsettling mysteries. It's the story of a pharaoh who didn't just try to change his country, he tried to remake reality itself, and he was very, very nearly erased for it. This isn't just about a king, it's about a god king who declared war on the gods themselves.
And no, that's not the plot of some fantasy novel. That really happened. It's the story of a revolution so total and a backlash so vicious that its leader was literally scrubbed from the official king lists and just labeled the criminal. For thousands of years, it was as if he had never been. And this is him, Akhenaten. Just looking at this statue, you can feel something is off, right? This isn't the idealized, muscular, all-powerful image you expect from a pharaoh. There's an unsettling quality here, a strange, almost alien look that kind of hints at the radical break he was about to force on his entire civilization. His reign was a complete whirlwind, just 17 years. He starts out as Amenhotep IV, a name that means Amen is satisfied. But by year 5, he totally rejects that identity. He becomes Akhenaten, effective for Aten. Then, by year 9, he abandons the ancient capital of Thebes for a brand new city he built out in the desert. And then, poof, 17 years in, he dies, and the whole experiment starts to completely unravel. So, what exactly was this revolution? It's honestly hard to overstate the scale of it. This was a direct assault on the entire Egyptian worldview, a whole system of belief, politics, and money that had been stable for over 1,000 years. At the center of it all was a new god, or maybe a reimagined one, the Aten. Now, the Aten isn't a man with a hawk's head or a woman with cow horns. It's an abstract idea, the pure, life-giving light of the sun itself. And here's the key part. It was a universal god. For everyone, Syrians, Nubians, Egyptians alike, this wasn't just theology, it was a huge political statement, basically pulling the rug out from under a powerful priesthood whose entire influence was based on uniquely Egyptian gods. And Akhenaten's moves were swift and they were brutal. First, the Aten is declared the only state god. Done. Then, the temples to the old gods, especially the incredibly wealthy cult of Amun, are shut down. That's like an economic decapitation. Then comes the really shocking part. He sends agents across the entire kingdom to literally chisel the names of the old gods off of temples and tombs. And finally, the ultimate break. He abandons the capital and builds a new one, Akhenaten, from scratch in the middle of nowhere. But here's the most crucial detail in how this new religion, Atenanism, actually worked. See, the rays of the Aten shine down, but they only touch Akhenaten and his family. For the average person, the path to God was now totally cut off. So while Akhenaten prayed to his god, his subjects, well, they had to pray to him. He and his family literally became the sole connection between all of humanity and the Creator. This religious revolution came with an artistic one that is frankly just as bizarre and mysterious. This era, which we call the Amarna period, produced a style so radical that the way Akhenaten chose to show himself and his family has baffled historians ever since he was rediscovered. Okay, so why the long face, the wide hips, the potbelly, and these thin, spindly limbs? What is going on here? Was it symbolic? Was he trying to show himself as both male and female to embody the Aten, which was called the mother and father of all creation? Or was it a medical issue, the result of a genetic disorder from generations of royal inbreeding? Or, and this is a big one, was it pure propaganda, just a calculated visual shock designed to scream to everyone that his reign was a total break from everything that came before? I mean, look at this. On one hand, you have the exaggerated, almost grotesque features of Akhenaten. But on the other, from the exact same period, you have this, the world-famous bust of Nefertiti, a masterpiece of lifelike beauty. The fact that both of these styles existed at the same time tells us that the strangeness of Akhenaten's portraits was a deliberate choice. The question is, why? But here's the real paradox. This same weird, distorted art style was also used to show a level of humanity we have never seen before in royal art. For the first time ever, we see the pharaoh not as some distant, godlike warrior, but as a husband and a father, in these intimate, casual moments with his wife and children. It's a style that is somehow both alienating and deeply, deeply human all at once. After Akhenaten died, the reaction wasn't just, oh, let's go back to the old ways. No, it was a violent, systematic attempt to wipe him from existence itself.
a punishment that the Egyptians considered far, far worse than a simple execution.
The Romans actually had a name for it: damnatio memoriae, the condemnation of memory. The goal was to eliminate a person so completely from history that it would be as if they had never even been born. And the Egyptians had perfected this practice long before Rome ever existed. And for the ancient Egyptians, this was the ultimate terror. You have to understand, to them, your name and your image were essential parts of your soul, of your very being. To destroy them was to destroy your chance at immortality, at an afterlife. This wasn't just political, it was an act of eternal damnation.
You can still see the evidence today, a ferocious hatred, still obvious thousands of years later. Statues were beheaded, entire temples to the Aten were dismantled, their blocks just used as filler for other buildings. And everywhere you look, you can see where teams of workers meticulously hammered away his name and his face. Why such a visceral, hateful reaction? This whole erasure was official state policy. His own son, Akhenaten, had to change his name to Tutankhamun to signal that he was returning to the old gods. Later pharaohs were even more thorough. They just left Akhenaten and his direct successors off the official king lists entirely. And in the few records where he had to be mentioned, he wasn't given a name. He was only given a title, the criminal of Akhenaten.
And you know what? They almost succeeded. For over 3,000 years, he was completely forgotten. But when his city was finally unearthed in the 19th century, it raised an absolutely electrifying question. Could an idea this powerful ever really be erased?
The Egyptologist who helped rediscover him, a man named James Henry Breasted, put it this way: Akhenaten wasn't just another king in a long line of kings. He was maybe the first person we can see in the historical record who consciously tried to break that irresistible drift of tradition and impose his own singular will upon the world. And that, of course, leads to the biggest question of all. Is it possible that the world's very first experiment in monotheism didn't just die out there in the Egyptian desert? Sigmund Freud famously argued that Moses was actually an Egyptian priest who kept Atenism alive. Now, most historians today reject a direct line, but the timing, the geography, and that core concept of a single, universal creator, it has led to tantalizing speculation for over a century now. And there are so many mysteries that still remain. What happened to Nefertiti, his incredibly powerful wife? She just vanishes from the records late in his reign. We don't even know how he died. Was it natural, or was he murdered for his heresy? And that central question just lingers. If you plant the seed of an idea as revolutionary as one god, can you ever really uproot it? So, how do we remember the man they tried so hard to erase? Was he a visionary, maybe the first person to truly grasp the concept of a single, universal god? A philosopher king centuries ahead of his time? Or was he a tyrant, a fanatic who plunged his country into chaos, destroying his own people's sacred traditions just out of pure ego? The evidence suggests he may very well have been both. And that, right there, is the enduring, unsettling legacy of the heretic king.